back, grade 3. After we finish our talk about the Earth, now we will talk about the second part, the Moon. As you can see in this picture that this is the Moon. But you have to know that the Moon is made of rock, so it can't give any light or heat. So how we can see the Moon bright in the sky? You must know that the Moon doesn't produce its own light. It just takes its light from the sun. It means that when the moon moves around the earth like that, it reflects some of the sunlight so we can see the moon bright in the sky. So, the moon doesn't produce its own light, it just reflects some of the sunlight. It means that without the sun, the moon will be a dark ball and doesn't give us any light. And we must know also that the moon have a cycle. And to make just one cycle around the earth like that, it takes about 1 month. So the moon to make one cycle around the earth, it takes 1 month. One cycle equal 1 month. Okay? Now, you must know that, as you can see in this picture, that the moon revolves around the earth or move around the earth. As it move around the earth, it make us see different faces or shapes for the moon. But there are big four faces. They are full moon, third quarter moon, new moon, and first quarter moon. This is the main or big four phases for the moon. Again, the first one, full moon, second one, third quarter moon, number 3, new moon, and the last one, first quarter moon. But actually, the moon has different shapes or different faces. There are about 8 faces, okay? But the big four faces, as we say before, the full moon, third quarter moon, new moon, first quarter moon. After that, we will talk about something called tides. If you look carefully in this picture, you will find that the water in this picture now is low, but suddenly you will say that it starts to become high. It's now low, and suddenly it will start to become high and cover more amount of the earth. And we call this change in the height of the ocean water tides. So when the height of the ocean water change, we call this tides. And the tides has two types, low tides and the high tides. Low tides mean that there will be less amount of the ocean water, but the high tides mean that the height of the ocean water will change and will be more or increase. Okay? And we must know that the high tides or low tides caused by the moon. How that happen? When the moon is above any ocean like that, it make the high tides on this part and also on the other part, here and here. So when the moon is above any ocean, it causes the high tides on this part or in this ocean and also in the opposite side. Like that. And the two places between the high tides will have a low tide. So if the moon above any ocean, it will cause the high tide or increase in the height of the ocean water on this side and also in the opposite side. But the two places between the high tides, here and here, will have a low tide or less amount of the ocean water. Here, can you tell me where the high tides and where the low tide and what cause the high tides? in this picture, it will be high tides or low tides? Excellent, it will be low tides. And when the height of the ocean water change and start to increase, we call this high tides. Very well. And what causes the high tides or the changes in the height of the ocean water? Very well. When the moon is above the ocean, it will make changes in the height of the ocean water and also on the opposite side. Very well. Again, here, this place has a low tide. So, the moon now is above this part. So, it will be high tides or low tides? Very well, high tides. And the opposite side will have low tides or high tides? Very well, high tides. And the two places between the high tides will be low tides. Very well. Now please open your book, page 325. We have here question. The ocean is reflecting light from the full moon. How is the moon acting on the ocean? We just say that if the moon is above any ocean, it will cause change in the height of the ocean water, and we call this tides. So we will write here in this place, the moon is causing tides. Okay? Now for our lesson vocabulary today, they will be axis, revolution, rotation, tide. Again, axis, revolution, rotation, tide. So please make sure that you write the things inside your book. Now open your science book on page 332. We have here a diagram for the big four phases, or the four main moon phases. As we say before, that we have the full moon, then another shape for the moon, then a new moon, and the last one, first quarter moon. So which moon phase is missing here? Excellent, it will be the first quarter moon. So we will write, the third quarter moon. It will be third quarter moon. So please make sure that you write it inside your book, and also make sure that you draw the picture for the third quarter moon. It will be bright from this side and dark from this side. Okay? The next page, on page 333. This is the 8 moon phases that we say. We want to complete the cycle and say from which moon phase it will start and end with which one. Okay, any moon cycle will start with the new moon. So this will be number 1. And if you look carefully, you will find that the cycle will go from this direction. So the second moon phase will be the crescent moon. This is number 2. And if we complete, number 3 will be the first quarter moon. And between the first quarter moon and the full moon, we will find number 4, the moon that's called waxing. Okay, so this will be number 4, and the full moon will be number 5. Okay, if we complete the diagram here, this moon phase is called waning. so it will be number 6. And if we complete the cycle, this is the third quarter moon, the last big face, and it will be number 7. And the last moon phase in this cycle that takes 1 month will be the crescent again. So as we say, we have 4 big moon phases. If you look carefully in this page, you will find the big 4 phases for the moon. As we say before, the new moon, the first quarter moon, then the full moon, and the third quarter moon. Now please turn the page on page 334. Here we have the meaning of the word tides. Tides are changes in the height of the ocean water. So please make sure that you highlight this sentence. Also, if we read here in the active reading, as you read these 2 pages, draw boxes around the names of the 2 things that we are comparing. We compare between the high tides and the low tides. So we want to draw boxes around the word high tide and low tide. Here I can say the first one, high tides, so I will draw a box. And here also the low tides, so the second box. And if we complete to the next page, we will find also here high tides, and here the second one, the low tide. So draw boxes around this words. Okay? Now, let's read this question. On the line blue, tell where the moon might have been when the picture on this page was taken. Okay. Let's look carefully. On this picture, this is the high tide. So, you think the moon will be above the ocean or far away from the ocean? Yes, excellent. If this is a high tide, so the moon would be above the ocean or on the opposite side. As we say that if this the ocean and the moon is above the ocean, so it will be high tide, and also on the opposite side of the earth. Very well. The second question say, in the space draw what the image on this page will look like next as it continues its cycle. Okay, let's look to the pictures. Here a low tide, then a high tide. So you think the next picture in the cycle will be low tide or high tide? Excellent, very well. It will be a low tide again. So it starts with low tide, then high tide, then again we will draw a picture for the low tide. This is the end of our lesson. Thank you very much and take care of yourself.